Let us now pray. O Almighty God, as we have come together to begin our meeting of the Assembly, we humbly beseech you to grant to all our members the light and guidance of your Holy Spirit, that we may wisely take counsel together and come to such decisions as shall promote your glory and the well-being of all our citizens in this our land, so that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be enjoyed by all people. Grant this for the sake of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen. You may all be seated.
Oath of Allegiance of a new member. Announcements by the presiding officer. Assembly bills sent back from Cabinet. Assembly laws brought back from Parliament. Petitions, papers, presentation of reports from Dispute Resolution Commission, select committees. Chief Secretary's questions, questions to secretaries, questions for oral answer, request for leave to move the adjournment of the Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance. Statements by secretaries or assistant secretaries, personal explanations.
Member for Buku, Mount Pleasant, you may stand.
Madam Presiding Officer, I am thankful for the opportunity to stand here and defend my good name against the false allegations laid against me in the public domain. On social media, there was an incident showing that a child cheated on the essay exam, and it was reported that this person standing before you committed the act of cheating. I am here to make it categorically clear that I committed no such feat. There are other children with my facial features, my physique, and my name, but I did no such. The media is not interested in the fact, the truth, or the clearing up of the truth. Madam Presiding Officer, I am not even sure the school portrayed in the media is even located in Trinidad and Tobago. But let's make this clear, and may this go on record, that I, Assemblyman Kimala Benito, member for Buku Mount Pleasant, is against cheating, and so are my colleagues on this side. Cheating is dishonest. It shows lack of integrity. It shows incompetence, laziness, and disrespect. Cheating within the essay examination is not allowed and should not be tolerated. My colleagues and I would work assiduously to have mechanisms implemented to effectively mitigate cheating within the education system on the island. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Introduction of bills. Motions relating to the business or sitting of the Assembly and moved by a secretary or assistant secretary. Public business motions.
Assemblyman for Palatuvier, Lance for me, Speyside. You may stand and move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for the privilege to address this House. Greeting to my fellow colleagues. Whereas there have been several adjustments to the secondary entrance assessment in the past few years, and whereas the national community has been discussing the removal of SEA without the involvement of primary school students, the main stakeholders, and whereas the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for education according to the THA Act 40 of 1996. Be it resolved that the Executive Council creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SEA. Be it further resolved that the Executive Council considers adding the Montessori method to the educational system in Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, some of us here and many other 11 to 13-year-olds in Trinidad and Tobago are anxiously awaiting the arrival of SCA results. We did this exam on March 21st. We, as well as our parents, guardians, and teachers, are hoping that we pass for our first choice. Although the SCA is used by the state to make secondary education accessible to all, this exam may have more damaging effects than good at present. Madam Presiding Officer, I rise on Standing Order 42-7. I seek leave to read an extract of my presentation.
The leave is granted.
According to Kevin J. Palmer, sir, and I quote, "The secondary entrance assessment has become one of the biggest nightmares faced by most 8 to 11-year-olds in one of the most critical development phases by their lives. Every year around this time, the publication of SCA results stirs a discussion on the negative impacts, but continues without major restructuring of the process to transition to secondary school. As students sitting here today, we can attest to the trauma we have been through. This caused by the fear of not fulfilling the expectations of our parents, teachers, and those who know us. The many drills and extra lessons which prepare us with short-term memory learning do not fully help us to think critically and be creative. Every year, there are discussions to remove the SCA, but the primary school students have not been given a platform to voice their concerns. Since the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for the education according to the THA Act 40 of 1996, Madam Presiding Officer, we, the majority, believe that the Executive Council should create a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SCA. The information collected can be used by the Tobago House of Assembly to improve the educational system in Tobago. The Executive Council should also consider adding the Montessori method to the educational system, because this method is a hands-on approach that will get students more interested in learning. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you and I beg to move this motion standing in my name.
Honorable House, the question proposed is, whereas there have been several adjustments to the secondary entrance assessment exams, SEA, in the past few years, and whereas the national community has been discussing the removal of SEA without the involvement of primary school students, the main stakeholders, and whereas the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for education according to the THA Act 40 of 1996. Be it resolved that the Executive Council creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SEA. Be it further resolved that the Executive Council considers adding the Montessori method to the educational system in Tobago. Assemblyman for Darrell Spring, Wim, you may join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, my esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Today, I stand before you to debate a topic of great significance to the children of our nation, the Secondary School Assessment Examination, commonly known as the SEA. It has been proposed to, firstly, create a student-based team to examine the impact and effects of the SEA. Secondly, to use the Montessori method of learning in our primary schools. I would like us to consider the proposal to implement a Montessori style of learning in our primary education. Montessori-style education may have its merits by promoting creativity and independent thinking. But is that the best fit for our education system? It may benefit some. However, a structured assessment like the SEA can foster discipline and productivity, qualities that are also beneficial to our nation. The SEA is designed to ensure all our nation's children have strong English language skills and a solid knowledge of mathematics, creating a foundation for continued academic education and for contributing to the national development of Trinidad and Tobago. A study by Lillard and Elsquest in 2006 found that the Montessori students excelled in social skills and creativity. But they often lagged in math and literacy, thus raising questions about the method's effectiveness. Without standardized assessments, it becomes challenging to ensure that all students meet the necessary academic standards. This lack of uniformity can result in significant gaps in knowledge, which may hinder students' progress as they transition to secondary education. In a world where academic qualifications and standardized testing play a crucial role in university admissions and advancement in the workplace, our students need to be equipped with the skills and ability to perform well under pressure and not only meet, but exceed established benchmarks. Furthermore, implementing a Montessori style of learning would require a substantial overhaul of our current educational infrastructure. This would involve retraining teachers, redesigning curricula, and investing in specialized materials and classroom setups. Such a transition would be both time-consuming and costly, with no guarantee of the outcome. In conclusion, while we must always seek to innovate and improve our education system, it is essential to carefully consider the implications of any proposed changes. The SEA provides a reliable and effective means of assessing our students' readiness for secondary education, ensuring that they possess the
Member, your
necessary...
speaking time has ended.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that the speaking time for the member for Darrell Spring Wim be extended by a further 1 minute.
Members, the question is that 1 minute of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish his presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. Member, you may have 1 minute additional speaking time. You may continue your presentation.
Our long-standing system has produced numerous scholars, scientists, artists, chief secretaries, and minority leaders who are internationally recognized and celebrated. Let us continue to support and refine the SEA, building on its strengths to create an educational environment that nurtures excellence, equity, and opportunity for all our children. Madam Presiding Officer, my fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Okay. Councillor Rennie, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for granting me the opportunity to participate in this debate to explain why the Montessori method should be added to the Tobago educational system. I would like to ask these questions. Should learning be about discovery, which leads to the transfer of knowledge, or should it be constantly hammered into the minds by teachers? And should it be enjoyable or should it be rigid and only seen as a tedious task? The Montessori method should be reintroduced to the educational system. Yes, I said reintroduced because there was once a private school named Scarborough Montessori Murray House Preparatory Primary School in Glen Road. Hence, the name of a street in the said community called Montessori Drive. So it can be reintroduced, but in this time, publicly. The method should be adapted because it will allow students to develop holistically through hands of learning and developing real-world skills through other subjects areas such as value, character, and car citizenship, education, and visual and preparing arts, to name a few, as opposed to focusing heavily on mathematics and English language arts. Curriculum for the exam purposes only. The Montessori method discourages the use of conventional methods and achievement, such as grades, tests, and focusing on the other subject areas through the Montessori method. Allows students to improve their decision-making skills, and they will use the content in attaining a career to have a career and to be more selective citizens. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Lambo Lowlands, you may join the debate.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, spectating and viewing audience and supporters. This morning, I am privileged to represent the member for the Lowlands Lambo constituent and citizenry. Madam Presiding Officer, please allow me to share my views in this thought-provoking debate. SEA over the years has represented many things to many people, but to me, it represents a set standard which students can transition from one level of education to another. You see, Madam Presiding Speaker, in my opinion, SEA and any other formative assessment is a necessary requirement and cannot be dismissed as easily as some of my colleagues would have you believe. Approve or disapprove, this final assessment at the end of the primary education period is crucial. So whether it was the common entrance examination or secondary entrance assessment, the point I like to highlight today is that there must be something that we can use to measure the standard of readiness of our primary school students to transition on to the secondary level of education. According to Campbell, the genesis and history of Trinidad and Tobago's primary examinations started back in 1851 under Lord Harris, who saw the need to establish a system of secular government schools, then called ward schools, paid for out of local or ward rates. The intention was to integrate the laboring class and bringing children of various cultural backgrounds together. Over the years, however, the establishment of secondary schools did not keep pace with the enrollment of primary schools. And in December 1960, the Concordat was signed, and in order to facilitate the articles of the Concordat, the college exhibition exam was replaced the following year in 1961 with the common entrance examination, which some consider it to be a high-stakes exam, a winner-takes-all type of scenario. The conversation about abolishing the SEA examination has been going on almost as long as the debates over the common entrance examination, which preceded it. Over the years, there have been many arguments against this system of assessment. One of the best solutions taken within recent times was the elimination of failure from SEA examinations, guaranteeing that every student will have the opportunity to attend secondary school, and ensuring that the ones who did not reach the required standard go back, be remediated, and given the opportunity to try again. Though some of the arguments presented today by my esteemed colleagues may have some levels of merit, it is however to be noted that regardless of how it is done here in Trinidad and Tobago, some form of formalized assessment is essential and required for students to be able to transfer from one educational level to another. We cannot, at this time, purport to initiate zoning or the Montessori system of learning. We are a third world country who, though we made some noticeable strides and breakthroughs in education, can still in no way equate ourselves with the levels of resources, infrastructure, and training that the first world countries who utilize the Montessori statutory's learning can facilitate. Over the years, there have been suggestions and efforts to try CAPE, Continuous Assessment Program. CAPE was
your speaking time has ended.
That the Assemblyman for Lowlands Lambo to be further extended by 1 minute.
Members, the question is that 1 minute of additional speaking time be given to the member. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. No. The ayes have it. Member, you have 1 minute additional speaking time. You may continue your presentation.
As we chart the way forward, we need to adopt a system that will allow us to grow into the educational system that we want, rather than tear down what we have worked with and what has been our foundation and cornerstone. The way forward calls for the replacement of a single examination, but we must reinvent the studies and options for the students that are not academically inclined, create a system of regular assessment that is not as high pressured, and continue remediation for weak and struggling students. We must now carefully formulate a form of assessment that will specifically meet the needs of our society and match the resources we have available. We must now invest in our teachers and infrastructure more. We must now meet our students on a holistic level and focus on propelling this generation forward so that they can continue to progress educationally. But until that is properly instituted, abolishing SEA at this juncture is not a sustainable or feasible option. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Councillor Baines, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for this opportunity to present my speech in this debate, and I thank my colleagues for supporting me. Madam Presiding Officer, there are growing concerns about the SEA examination, and Tobago as a district has been noticeably underperforming when it comes to taking SEA. We've been trying initiatives from the Ministry of Education, but it seems like it is not working for us. But why can't we project our own ideas and initiatives? The motion looks to create a student body to investigate the exam and bring ideas to the tables and help solve our problems. The SEA exams are tests that results in us attending high schools in the future, which puts immense stress on the 11 to 13-year-olds taking the exam to do well on just one test, Madam Presiding Officer. As students, we have experienced this stress firsthand, served hot and ready, since we have taken SEU already. We know the sacrifices our parents made to send us to extra classes and the endless, restless nights we took studying for exam, Madam Presiding Officer. Yet, we feel disappointed when we do not get our first choice high school. This is why it is so important for student input for this discussion, Madam Presiding Officer, because of the hands-on experience that the students portrayed when taking the exam. There are many opinions that students are still too young or inexperienced to add meaningfully to this discussion, but as a student, we know the challenges and the hard trials of SCA. We can put an effective impact, and that we can show our voices matter, that we have the power to shape our own future, Madam Presiding Officer. And are we saying the Montessori method is the best method and it will definitely work? No, but we can all agree that something must be done, and the implementation of a student council and the use of the Montessori method is a start in the right direction, but we can never know until we try. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Belgarden, Glamorgan, you may join the debate. Oh my God.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer. It is indeed an honor to be able to address this august gathering on this very topical issue, which continues to be of great importance to past, present, and future SEA students. Madam Presiding Officer, I am referring to the fact that while discussions have taken place and continue to take place at different levels in our national space about the SEA exams' effectiveness and necessity, up to this point, the voices of the students, the main stakeholders, have yet to be heard and considered. Former Minister of Education, Mr. Anthony Garcia, wisely stated that no plan can succeed without the proper involvement to whom the plan is to affect. Stakeholders, by its very definition, refers to persons who are involved in and affected by a course of action. I dare ask, who is more involved in and affected by the SEA exams? Madam Presiding Officer, let us in Tobago not follow our counterparts in Trinidad, who in 2021 swore in a 20-person SEA review committee without one single student. Let us lead by example and create a committee that is set for success by having representatives from all affected sectors with a clear mandate. SEA students must be included in such a committee to ultimately create successful, educated citizens. Madam Presiding Officer, our involvement in the decision-making process will reflect our needs, interests, and perspectives, which will only lead to fruitful partnerships for success across the board. Madam Presiding Officer, be it resolved that the Executive Council creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SEA exams and dialogue to chart the way forward. Please let us hold meaningful consultation among us stakeholders to achieve the objective of the 1966 Education Act to make better provision for the promotion of education in Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you for the opportunity to be able to contribute to the debate.
Minority Councillor Lewis, you may join the debate.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer, my fellow colleagues and distinguished guests. I thank you for allowing me to join this debate. Madam Presiding Officer, I strongly believe that the Montessori method should not be implemented in the education system because there is limited standardization and potential unpreparedness for the traditional schooling. The SEA exam is already an important feature in the Caribbean education system that requires students to place lots of time and focus on it. To expand on some points highlighted earlier why the Montessori method should not be implemented. 1. Limited standardization. means the curriculum in the Montessori education may lead to inconsistencies in what the children learn, which can be a concern for the parents who value a more structured and uniform approach to the child's education. 2. Requires special training. Implementing the Montessori method effectively requires educators with specific training in this approach. Not all teachers are trained in Montessori principles, which can impact on the quality of education provided. There will be a need for a new system where teachers will need to be trained to educate their students, which can also be a financial burden to the education system. Madam Presiding Officer, the Montessori method causes limited exposure to the traditional teaching methods. Children transitioning from Montessori traditional schools may face challenges in adapting to more standardized tests and constructed environments. Madam Presiding Officer, I rise on Standing Order 42-7 to read an extract from my presentation.
The leave is granted.
Madam Presiding Officer, the Montessori method is student-led and self-paced and requires a lot of individual attention, which can cause a lack of discipline or structure and promote laziness in the students who require guidance. It places less emphasis on traditional forms of assessment such as grades and exams, which can be a disadvantage for parents and educators who value more conventional methods of evaluating a child's progress. Therefore, Madam Presiding Officer, the Montessori teaching method will not fit the Tobago setting. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Bagatelle, Bacalet, you may join the debate.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer, and to my colleagues. I want to thank you for the opportunity given to be at this debate today. Today we seek to deal with the examination of the secondary entrance assessments. We looked at the adjustments made in the past and the constant discussion about the removal of the examination altogether. We would also like to take a look at the powers of the laws of the country within the discussion. The Tobago House of Assembly Act came into operation on the 10th of December 1996. In the Act, specific functions set out are: 1. In relation to Tobago, the Assembly shall be responsible for the creation and implementation of the policy in respect of the matters set out in the 5th schedule. 2. For the better performance of its function. The Assembly is hereby empowered to do all such acts and take all such steps as be necessary for the incidental to the exercise of its powers, for the discharge of its duties. What are these duties? According to the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, under the 5th schedule, one of the responsibility is education, including curriculum. Based on information given before, the House of Assembly is responsible for the development of the curriculum and the implementation of the educational practices in all the island schools. Madam Presiding Officer, Tobago has in the past and even at the present produced many intelligent minds which are well capable of successfully accomplishing the task set out in this motion before us. The Act goes on to further empowers the Tobago House of Assembly to do all such acts and take all such steps necessary for the discharge of these duties. Is it not our duty to do what is best for the schools on the island? We assure you that the creation of a student-based team and the implementation of the Montessori method within the process of teaching are needed to accomplish the island educational goals. Members on the other side may try to argue that the motion is not responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly, or that it may be contrary to the laws of the Constitution of the Trinidad and Tobago. 4. Of the Tobago House of Assembly Act states that a bill adopted by the Assembly shall not seek to abrogate, suspend, repeal, alter, override, or be contrary to any written law of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, or impose any direct or indirect taxation whatsoever. The majority is sure that this motion will in no way override or is contrary to any existing law of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So therefore, we believe that this motion should be supported. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Mount St. George, Goodwood, you may join the debate. Oh my God.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer. Thank you for allowing me to take part in this debate session as I express and explain my reasons for why the Secondary Entrance Assessment, SEA, should be removed and abolished like slavery. As we know, the Secondary Entrance Assessment is deemed one of the highlights in a child's life, as it secures their place in secondary school, which is major on the road to adulthood. Sounds great, right? But it is not so simple on the inside. There have been many studies that shows that high-stake examinations like SEA take a toll on most individuals' health, causing stress, anxiety, lack of sleep, suicides, and more. There is also the belief of some schools being greater than others in terms of academics, making the goal not only to pass the exams, but to pass for the best school in the country. This system usually classes students, which can make them feel unintelligent and afraid to walk with that shame. So the pressures of succeeding now weighs heavily on them, as no one wants to be a disappointment. Next, not all children excel academically. Giving the same test to everyone is unfair, as students with creative or practical talents will be at a great disadvantage, as their skills or crafts are not adequately measured by the standardized exams. Take into consideration a future tradesperson, for instance. He or she might excel in hands-on skills but struggle with traditional exams. And might I add, a tradesman may even make more than his well-learned peers. COVID-19 really showed who was essential too. So that one-size-fits-all approach overlooks diverse abilities and potential career paths, leaving students stuck and not doing what they love. Finally, there is a shift in curiosity, passion, and love for learning, as the focus on exams often promotes memorization rather than true comprehension. Students may prioritize rote learning rather than true comprehension. Students may prioritize rote learning to meet exam requirements and focus solely on repeating what they are taught rather than thinking. An example of this, in mathematics, a student might memorize a formula for calculating the area of a triangle without grasping the rules of it. This approach allows them to pass the exams but also fail in developing critical thinking skills or a deeper understanding, thereby undermining the joy of discovery and exploration essential for fostering a lifelong love of learning. In short, the Montessori standard of education that promotes a hands-on experience-to-learn setting promotes a culture that is far better for all children, regardless of their learning style.
Your speaking time has ended.
Oh my God.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that the speaking time be extended by further 1 minute.
Members, the question is that 1 minute of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. Member, you have 1 minute additional speaking time. You may finish your presentation.
Madam Presiding Officer, although I may agree with my fellow colleagues on the against side, I will stand my ground, and that is final. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Scarborough, Mount Grace, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and my fellow colleagues for allowing me to join this debate. Madam Presiding Officer, esteemed colleagues, today I address this House on the notable adjustments to the secondary entrance assessment in Trinidad and Tobago over recent years. This critical examination has undergone several transformations reflecting our evolving educational priorities. I would quickly provide a historical overview which shows that initially the common entrance examination was introduced in the early 1960s and served as the primary mechanism for secondary school placement. However, concerns over its high-stakes nature and the undue stress it placed on young students led to calls for reform. In an attempt to fix the common entrance exam, the Continuous Assessment Program, better known as CAP, was introduced in 2001. The CAP aimed to offer a more holistic evaluation of students by incorporating continuous assessments. Despite its noble intentions, Madam Presiding Officer, the CAP faced significant implementation challenges, including inconsistent application and increased teacher workloads. In an attempt to fix the CAP, the secondary entrance assessment was introduced in 2004. This new system aimed to combine the benefits of continuous assessments with the reliability of standardized testing. Three of the key adjustments to the SEA were curriculum and content revisions. The curriculum for the SEA has been periodically updated to align with global standards and national needs. 2. Reintroduction of continuous assessment elements. In 2013, continuous assessment components were reintroduced, focusing on creative writing and science, to foster a more comprehensive evaluation of students' abilities. 3. Psychosocial support initiatives. Recognizing the stress associated with exams, the ministry implemented various support mechanisms, including counseling services and, in some cases, mock exams. The Newsday emphasized these initiatives are designed to mitigate exam-related stress and enhance students' readiness. Newsday 2022. Madam Presiding Officer, despite these significant changes, a critical oversight persists: the absence of student input in the reform process. Students, the primary stakeholders, have never been formally consulted. As the Trinidad and Tobago Review pointed out, the failure to include student voices in educational reforms represents a significant gap in the policy-making process. Review 2021. In conclusion, while the evolution of the SEA reflects our commitment to improving educational outcomes, I firmly believe that it is imperative that we include student perspectives in future reforms. By doing so, we can ensure that our educational system truly meets their needs and prepares them for success. I thank you.
Assemblyman for Mason Hall, Mariah, you may join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, I greatly appreciate the opportunity of which you have given me to join this debate. I myself am in support of the addition of the Montessori method to our educational system. Why? There are many reasons as to why I do, such as This way of learning provides independence and hands-on learning. This is because students of Montessori classrooms learn by doing and are free to move about. As a result of this, various researchers have shown that students of Montessori classrooms display superior soft skills in comparison to other children of their age group. What is a soft skill? Well, a soft skill is a personal attribute that enhances an individual's ability to get a job done. Soft skills such as critical thinking, comprehension, and problem solving are essential in a learning environment. This method of learning is also effective and inclusive of special needs children. The explanation for this is the environment used in the Montessori method. The environment is interactive, sensory, safe, and consistent, which aids greatly in learning of special needs children. In addition to this, Montessori teachers center around the idea that children learn in their own ways and at their own pace. Students of Montessori classrooms are encouraged to have a love for learning. The reason for this is that students of Montessori classrooms do not feel the stress of having textbook knowledge constantly hammered into their heads. The children are instead excited to go to school. Could you imagine? No stress, not nearly as much the same amount of homework to stress out both parents and children, and being excited to go to school. In addition to this, students of Montessori classrooms have enhanced social skills. The reason for this is that students of Montessori schools are taught to listen actively, ask questions, and respond appropriately. In addition to this, children of Montessori schools are often found teaching one another. This also enforces their social skills. With all these reasons provided, why would we not want this? Think of the special needs children. Think of the parents with special needs children. There is only one school that I know of that accommodates special needs children. But this school might not be able to accommodate every single special needs child in Tobago. If we implement the Montessori method in our educational system, it will make the lives of both parents and children easier. Overall, we should implement the Montessori method to give each child a fair chance in comparison to the SCA exam. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Bethel Newgrange, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for giving me the opportunity to express my opinion as it pertains to the importance of the Executive Council creating a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the secondary entrance assessment. Deemed as one of the most distressing periods in the life of a child, many have called for the abolition of the secondary entrance assessment, to which I wholeheartedly agree. Over the years, we have seen how this examination has affected both the mental as well as physical well-being of students during their preparations. Because of some elitist worldviews, we see where students who pass for non-traditional schools are deemed worse off than children who make it to traditional schools. This, over time, brought great distress to students, affecting primarily their mental well-being, as they are subjected to the judgment of society based on their performance in this examination. In 2014, there was a suspected suicide of 13-year-old Davandra Budum. a pupil of the El Socorro Hindu School. Devendra, who was expected to write the SEA examination one day prior to his misfortune, instead was found hanging at his home. After learning about this unfortunate circumstance, the then president of the Parent Teacher Association, Zina Ramatali, alluded to the fact that the child must have been under tremendous pressure. This was further compounded by tutor's first vice president, Devanand Sinanand, who said that the SEA should be replaced with another form of assessment. He went on to express that it was cruel and inhumane to ask 12 and 13-year-olds to sit for a 3-hour examination. SEA, being a one-off examination, is an extremely inefficient way to assess a child's intelligence, considering the factors like stress or nervousness oftentimes comes into play. This should not be an effective measure of a child's intelligence, basing it on a one-day exam. Let us think for a while. Think about your extremely intelligent child who has performed excellently throughout the years in primary school, but failed to perform his or her best because of the stress factor, nervousness and or anxiety, or simply carelessness in the examination. Proper assessment would be one that reviews children's performance throughout the years in primary school, with exams being held at the end of each academic year, which usually is used as the tool for promotion. This same yearly record can be used by the ministry to monitor and assess students' progress over the years. Additionally, keen observation must be placed on students' behavior as well as their ability to learn. As humans, we are very much aware that there is bias in just about everything. This is something we can never get away from, whether we choose to accept it or not. Some schools are favored more than others. We can all attest that where we place our students to acquire their primary education can have an impact on their secondary school placement. Though the norm, this should not be the order of the day. There should be equality across the board. It should not be that students should be placed based...
Member, your speaking time has ended.
What's it supposed to do?
Members, the question is that 1 minute of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. Member, you have 1 minute additional speaking time. You may continue your presentation.
In summation, who best can relate to all these factors but someone who undergoes these challenges? Thus, we see why it is important that the Executive Council creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the secondary entrance assessment. This team of students can assist in informing the process. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Assemblyman for Plymouth Blackrock, you may join the debate.
Good day, Madam Presiding Officer and fellow Assembly members. I am thankful for the opportunity to present some reasons why we should not implement the Montessori method in Tobago. Firstly, the Montessori method can result in money being wasted due to the need for specialized learning tools if the attempt with Montessori is unsuccessful. Additionally, teachers must be specifically trained in the Montessori method. If educators are not properly trained, it can greatly affect the students' learning. Proper training is key for the Montessori method to be successful. Additionally, If we implement the Montessori method in Tobago, there would be a drastic shortage of money, leading to the cancellation of future programs to better the country. Based on research done, implementing the Montessori method in Tobago is costly. An article from Hudson Montessori School clearly states that traditional schools are cheaper to operate. Therefore, setting up a Montessori system in Tobago will be an additional financial burden to the Tobago House of Assembly. While benefits have been highlighted from the Montessori method, there are also some limitations. In an article from Cornell University, it was noted that the Montessori method is not trademarked and is therefore implemented differently in different locations. This situation may become problematic because curriculum may not be completed and teaching and learning objectives may not be achieved. It must be noted that traditional methods of classroom teaching provide benefits. Two examples are: traditional teaching methods offer a consistent and controlled learning environment, which is essential to ensure that all students receive the same level of education. Standardized testing allows educators to identify areas where students are excelling and where they need additional support. In conclusion, the Montessori method has its merits. Its implementation in Tobago's educational system poses significant financial and practical challenge and may not be accessible to underprivileged communities. On the other hand, continuing with traditional methods of classroom teaching and testing methods ensures stability, structure, and measurable outcomes, which are vital for ensuring that maintaining high educational standards and accountability. Thank you.
Assemblyman for Bonaccord Crown Point, you may join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you for allowing me to take part in this debate in this August House. Madam Presiding Officer, we, the majority, are of the firm view that the Executive Council should create a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SEA. Gone are the days when children should be seen and not heard. That statement is outdated and has no place in any society, far less a democratic one. We believe that true educational change is only applicable when all stakeholders are actively involved in its creation. A stakeholder in education is anyone who has interest in or is affected by the educational system in some way. Everyone knows that we are the main stakeholders. It is all about us, the future of this nation. Are we going to continue to be denied a place at the decision-making table? This SEA exam impacts every student at some point. Therefore, the importance of student involvement cannot be denied. The Minister of Education, Dr. Gatsby Dolly, was quoted in a Newsday article. She stated, "The input of students will also play a pivotal role in the data collected." That is something we want to continue to see. Imagine this. The extent of student involvement, as stated by the minister, was a questionnaire just for students on the website. Is that it? Madam Presiding Officer, this charade must not be the case here in Tobago. Real student involvement demands a student-based team. We cannot talk about changes in SEA or education without talking to students. Our voices must be heard in decisions which affect us. Are those on the other side afraid of the brutal honesty of children? Are they afraid of hearing what they do not want to hear? Researchers have already said that there is barely any data on the effects of the SEA. But we, the students, have that data right here. This student-based team will give us what we need. This proposed team will be made up of the following: mainly students from Standard 4 all the way up to first form, parents with their guidance and support, first form teachers who explain the effects of the SEA on the students they receive, primary school teachers who prepare the students for the exam, and a child psychologist who will also value the team. Give this team 2 years to accomplish the task at hand, and they will make a huge difference in education here in Tobago. In conclusion, our unwavering position is for the creation of a student-based team for the following reasons. Stakeholder involvement in education is critical. Students are the main stakeholders in education, and the SEA must be a part of the decision-making process. And this student-based team will provide the much-needed data to contribute to the decision-making process at the Executive Council level. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, today I tackle the timeless classic, secondary entrance examinations. It's like the final boss battle in the game of academic stress, where students weave their pencils like mighty swords against a looming specter of failure. But let's get real here. We've all been through it. Those sleepless nights and the pressure of failure looming over our heads. It's like preparing for a marathon only to find out it's a sprint through a minefield. So, my esteemed colleagues, let's ask ourselves, are we cultivating future scholars or grooming future therapy patients? It's time to flip the script and embrace assessment methods that don't require sacrificing our sanity on the altar of standardized testing. And while we're at it, let's address the elephant in the classroom: educational inequality. Because in the grand race of life, not everyone starts at the same point on the track. It's time to level the playing field and ensure every student has a fair shot at success. So, let's rewrite the script, shall we? Let's create an educational system that doesn't just measure IQ, but also EQ, that's emotional intelligence for the uninitiated. Let's nurture creativity, curiosity, and a genuine love for learning. Together, let's embark on this epic quest to build a brighter, broader, and slightly less stressful future for all. Thank you.
Assemblyman for Roxborough Argyle, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for giving me the opportunity to speak in this debate. Madam Presiding Officer, fellow Assembly members, teachers, parents, and esteemed students and visitors, of course, good morning. Today we are presented with a motion that creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SCA exam, and to consider adding this Italian method called the Montessori method to our education system in Tobago. While this motion appears to be progressive and inclusive on the surface, it is definitely not well thought out and far too dangerous to the future of education on our beloved island. Practicality of forming a student-based team to examine the SCA is questionable. Primary school students are in their early stages of mental and emotional development. Unrealistic to expect them to understand the complexities of the SCA system. This does require maturity, expertise that is found in educators, administrators, and psychologists, not young children who are still navigating in their primary education. How will the team be coordinated to ensure that students attend meetings? Adding this responsibility could cause strain to both students and educators. We should instead focus to be strengthening existing communication channels between students,
teachers, and policymakers. Significant resources, training, and time is required to implement the Montessori method. The Montessori method needs specialized materials and different classroom management. Our current educational system supports the traditional model of education. Changing to a Montessori method approach requires substantial investment in teacher training and classroom resources. Madam Presiding Officer, is the theatre actually willing and able to put where its money is and fund such an initiative? Do you know that it will cost $11,000 a month per child? The THA done talking that all Trinidad is not giving their money. Schools have water problem. No soap.
Honorable House, please be quiet so the member can finish his presentation.
Schools have water problem. No soap. No toilet paper. Oh boy, and the classroom hot like furnace. We are no fan. And they want to invest in the Italian method. I don't know, like they're attracted to it because it's from Italy. But anyways, not one size fits all solution. The Montessori method offers many benefits, but is substantial for all students. Each child is unique, different approach for all different students. Instead of overhauling our current education system, we should instead on focusing on enhancing it. Consider incorporating best practices from various educational philosophies, including the Montessori, for a holistic and flexible education. In essence, proposed solutions are not practical and potentially disruptive to the young minds in Tobago. Priority should be enhanced current education system with realistic and manageable student feedback. Let us all work together to ensure thoughtful, inclusive, and beneficial education reform for all students in Tobago. Madam Presiding Officer, let us all wake up to reality because nothing in this will come easy. Thank you, Madam President.
Councillor Williams, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, for granting me the opportunity to participate in this debate. I fully endorse the removal of the SEA exam without the involvement of primary school students and implementing the Montessori method, because this method allows the students to learn at their own pace using hands-on learning skills, which would encourage their learning at their own pace and fulfill their learning abilities. Also, with the use of technology, there are programs which also encourages a self-paced learning, such as Pinnacle, quizzes, and NERPOD. Not all students can learn under the umbrella where one cap fits all, because it is like telling an elephant to climb a coconut tree, which we all know is 100% impossible. So therefore, I, Kylie Williams, the area representative for Betelza Lescato and leader of the assembly business, fully embrace the Montessori method in all primary schools throughout Tobago. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assemblyman for Signal Hill, Patience Hill, you may join the debate.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer, esteemed colleagues, viewers worldwide. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. Madam Presiding Officer, as I begin my contribution, permit me to draw your attention to this juice box. Madam Presiding Officers, members, viewers worldwide, this juice box has 3 dimensions, and it is a solid, as we learned in the current SCA mathematics syllabus. We can all comprehend using the skills taught in English, language arts, the graphics that adorn this box. Madam Presiding Officer, just like this motion, this juice box is very attractive. This juice box, just like this motion, is vacuous. It is empty. It is a void that cannot stand up again under scrutiny. Madam Presiding Officer, permit me to point out the vacuous nature in this motion. I would focus on the sorely lacking elements of socialization in this magical Montessori model, which movers of this motion are proposing. One of the fundamental disadvantages of the Montessori method is that of limited socialization opportunities. The Montessori system of teaching does not permit socialization. And Madam Presiding Officer, we all live in a social world. When children socialize, they learn fundamental skills such as social skills, empathy, problem-solving ability, and teamwork. Socialization starts in the home environment, then spread to the church, school, and everywhere else. One primary function of a school is to socialize children. In the society of their peers, children learn acceptable behavior, reciprocal relationships, the norms of society, and appropriate conflict resolution. Schools and classroom rituals led by teachers serving as role models and leaders regularly reinforce what society expects from us children. The hidden curriculum prepares children for the adult world. Children learn how to deal with bureaucracy, rules, expectations, waiting their turn, and sitting still for hours during the day. Children must learn to interact with each other on the football field, church choir, and eventually as adults working together for the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago. Therefore, social cohesion is imperative to live in a society. Madam Presiding Officer, in the Montessori model, teachers do not give constructive criticism. When the students grow up and become working adults and constructive criticism is not given, students are unable to get better at what they are doing. Persons do not want to be around them because they're never taught to learn from their mistakes, and also because they think they are always right. Lack of self-esteem leads to mental health issues like depression and anxiety, which eventually lead to suicide because of low self-esteem. There is no competitive drive among the children, which may lead to lack.
Member, your speaking time has ended.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move the speaking time for the member to be extended by a further 1 more minute.
Members, the question is that 1 minute of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. Member, you have 1 minute additional speaking time. You may continue your presentation.
Madam Presiding Officer, my presentation today focuses on socialization and its importance in child development. As we can see, children need each other. So let us ask ourselves, should we isolate children and prevent them from experiencing core features of the traditional method like competition, friendship, and most of all, teamwork? As a matter of fact, I am sure, Madam Presiding Officer, that after this session today, we will all be taking part in some type of socialization. Think about that. I thank you once again for the opportunity to speak on this motion before the House.
Assemblyman for Palatuvier, Lance for me, Speyside, you may now wrap up the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, thank you. We, the majority, firmly believe that the student-based team will help to create the change in our educational system that other stakeholders failed to create. In the book of Isaiah 11:6, the last line states, "And a little child shall lead them." Therefore, we as children, if and when we are given the opportunity, we can fix it and we will fix it. In addition, our educational system has become more child-friendly if the Montessori method is added to it. This method caters to the students' differences and allows students to develop leadership skills. Most of its method is testing and evaluation is more or less rigid than the methods used in our current system. Madam Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Honorable House, the question put is, whereas there have been several adjustments to the secondary entrance assessment exams, SCA, in the past few years, and whereas the national community has been discussing the removal of SCA without the involvement of primary school students, the main stakeholders, and whereas the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for education according to the THA Act 40 of 1996. Be it resolved that the Executive Council creates a student-based team to examine the impacts and effects of the SEA. Be it further resolved that the Executive Council considers adding the Montessori method to the educational system in Tobago. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. No. Division. Honorable House, a division was requested. I will now invite the clerk to do the... Sorry, assemblers. I will now invite the clerk to do the collection of voices, where each member indicates how they vote.
Member for Betelta Lescatu, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Palliative Lands for me, Speyside, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Bell Garden, Glamorgan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Bagatelle, Bacalet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Bonaccord, Crown Point, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Scarborough, Mount Grace, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor S.J. Rennie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Jahil Baines, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Jarrell Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Mason Hall Mariah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Bethel New Grange, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Buku Mount Pleasant, how do you vote?
No.
Member for Signal Hill Patience Hill, how do you vote?
No.
Member for Plymouth Blackrock, how do you vote?
No.
Member for Mount St. George Goodwood, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member for Lambo Lowlands, how do you vote?
No.
Member for Roxborough Argyle, how do you vote?
No.
Minority Councillor, how do you vote?
No.
Member for Darrell Springwim, how do you vote?
No.
Pardon? How much?
Honorable House, the results of the division are as follows: 12 yeses and 8 noes. Leader of Assembly Business.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that this House stands adjourned for a date to be fixed.
Members, the question put is that the House stands adjourned for a date to be fixed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned for a date to be fixed.
The Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East. Mr. Lawrence Hislop, Government Senator. Ms. Abby Taylor, Presiding Officer of the Tobago House of Assembly. Assemblyman Zorisha Hackett, Area Representative for Bethesda Lekoto and Secretary of Education, Research and Technology. Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin, Area Representative for Bagatelle Bacalet and Secretary of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development. Assemblyman Wayne Clark, Area Representative for Lambo Lowlands and Assistant Secretary for Community Development, Youth Development and Sport. Councillor Tashia Boris, Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Councillor Sertica Williams Orr, Assistant Secretary for Finance, Trade and the Economy. Assemblyman Niall George, Area Representative for Plymouth Blackrock and Assistant Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Assemblyman Kelvon Morris, Minority Leader. Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit, Minority Councillor. Ms. Alana Nadine Henry, Clerk of the Assembly. Mrs. Diane Baker Henry, Administrator for Education, Research and Technology. Mr. Julian Skeet, Administrator, Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Mrs. Sherry-Ann Edwards-Louis, Administrator for Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development. Young, powerful debaters, specially invited guests, members of the online viewing public, esteemed teachers, distinguished parents, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a pleasant day is extended to all and sundry. I am Celicia Small Moses, and it is my distinct pleasure to guide you through the closing ceremony of Assembly Legislature's inaugural primary plenary debate. Without further ado, we invite Ms. Alana Nadine Henry, Clerk of Assembly Legislature, to bring the welcome. Presiding Officer, Ms. Abby Taylor, the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East, primary assemblymen and councillors, Senator Lawrence Hislop, secretaries, assistant secretaries of the Tobago House of Assembly, minority leader, and other members of the Assembly Legislature, administrators of the Tobago House of Assembly, principals, teachers, students, well-wishers, other invited guests, welcome. Good afternoon to all. So, you debaters can now boast of taking part of the first primary plenary in the Assembly Legislature. And you can share your experience with others. Your teachers, all those teachers up there will be calling your name for years to come. And your parents will continue to bless God for the opportunity and add today on their list of thank yous to God. So, you had something to say. You said it. And your voices were heard. Unfortunately, you didn't do it any time when I had to do common entrance, but your voices were heard. So now, you can make a mark, and you have made the mark, and you can make a dent in society and effect change in Tobago, creating a ripple in the world. Don't be surprised if you see there is a motion that the minority leader is sitting there bring. So look on, we might hear more about it. Remember, the ocean is wide and the sky is vast, and the earth is large, the stars are numerous, and you are a shining light today and continue to be a shining light. Use the tools that you have received, use the experience that you have gained, and you go forth and do one thing. If it's in your relationship with Jesus Christ, it is in your school, secondary, or university education, it is in friendships, it is even in a project. Just go forth and succeed. I wish you all the best. On behalf of the presiding officer, Ms. Abby Taylor, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Henry, for your warm welcome. Permit me to recognize the arrival of the Honorable Farley Augustine, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. We now move on to the distribution of tokens to debaters and certificates of participation. Dignitaries, please note that you are on standby to present for us, please. We invite Assemblyman Hackett to present the first 3 tokens and certificates. As she makes her way, we invite Kylie Williams, area representative for Bethesda Lake Oto, to collect. We invite Entando George, area representative for Palatuve, Lansome, Speyside. Mr. George, I'm hearing that you just did a good job participating in the storytelling competition down at the library, and I must say you look dapper. We invite Amir Williams, area representative for Bellegarde and Glamorgan. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. We invite Senator Hislop. And to receive first from him would be Shania Potts, area representative for Bagatelle.
Today is dying.
Thank you. We invite Leston Paul, area representative for Bonaccord, Crown Point. Up next, Kimani McPherson, area representative for Scarborough, Mount Grace.
Thank you very much, Senator. We call on Councillor Boris. We invite to receive S.J. Rennie, Councillor.
All right, no problem. Ajay, at the end of
We invite Councillor Jaleel Baines. We invite Councillor Jeriel Clark. Thank you very much, Councillor Boris. We invite Madam Presiding Officer. And as she makes her way, we invite Zion Craig, Area Representative for Mason Hall, Mariah. We call on Sienna Rupchand, Area Representative for Bethel New Grange. We invite Kimala Benito, Area Representative for Buku Mount Pleasant. Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer. We invite Assemblyman Niall George. We call on Ngozika Nwokolo, Area Representative for Signal Hill, Patience Hill. We invite Micah Moses, area representative for Plymouth Blackrock. We invite Elaine Woods, area representative for Mount St. George Goodwood. Thank you very much, Assemblyman George. We invite Assemblyman Wayne Clark. To present firstly to the birthday boy, Zaire Macmillan. Sincere birthday blessings to you, Mr. Macmillan. We call on Zion George, area representative for Roxborough, Argyle. We call on Kimaya Lewis, area minority councillor. Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. We invite Assemblyman Kelvin Morris. To present to Liam Wheeler, area representative for Darrell Spring Wimp. We invite the Clerk of the Assembly, Hannah Ertvine. We call on Kimora Reed, presiding officer. Thank you very much, Assemblyman. We recognize the presence of and invite Assemblyman Dr. Faith B. Israel. We call on our alternates, Thandi Balfour, Signal Hill Primary. We invite Jalon Strawn, St. Patrick's Anglican Primary School. We invite Richard David, Tobago International Academy. Thank you very much, Dr. Faith. We invite Assemblyman Natisha Pantin. We call on Kiel George, Mount St. George Methodist. We call on Etana Stewart, Delaford Anglican Primary School. Thank you very much, Assemblyman Pantin. We invite Councillor Sertica Williams-Orr. We call on Kalea Alfred, Scarborough RC School. Next up, Celine Williams, Patience Hill Government Primary. Thank you very much, Madam Councillor. We invite the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy. We call on Nicalia Durham. We invite Marcus Lopez, Whim Anglican Primary. We invite Chaim Smith of Roxborough Anglican. Thank you, Madam Minister. We invite the Honorable Farley Augustine, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. We invite Kimala Benito, Scarborough Methodist Primary. Oh, sorry. Okay, the name was duplicated. Sorry about that. We call on Itana Stewart, Delaford Anglican Primary. All right, Jamila Batiste, Charlottesville Methodist. Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you to all our presenters. At this juncture, let us invite to the lectern to bring remarks the illustrious Mr. Julian Ski. All right, Chief, could you come back, please? We have some additional names here. We call on Maya Henry. Up next, Richard George. Tyreek Bedlow. We invite Aquino Murray. We invite Kerriel Jones. Dennis Green. Jean Jamar Cornwall. Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Secretary. Again, thank you to all our presenters. At this juncture, let us invite to the lectern to bring remarks the illustrious Mr. Julian Skeet, Administrator for the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. And I'm now sitting here. I took a few notes, so I'm safe. But let me start off by recognizing all members of the House, and you would most certainly forgive me if I were to group the recognitions accordingly. And I apologize in advance, Minister Webster Roy, members of Parliament, Chief Secretary Farley Chavez Augustine, Presiding Officer Abby Taylor, and all members of the Tobago House of Assembly, teachers, members representing schools or institutions, members of the various arms of the Tobago House of Assembly, and certainly the Assembly Legislature, an exceptional job indeed. And forgive me if I gave all that passion and excitement to our very own primary schoolers. Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise. I want to thank Presiding Officer and the team for giving me a few minutes here today to really extend sincere congratulations. I recall my very own school experience with now Chief Secretary, wasn't Chief then, now Chief Secretary in our Bishop's days back in about 2002, 2003. And having that very first exposure to what is the Assembly Legislature Chamber, and then going on to have a similar experience in 2009, serving as the first Youth Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. And sitting here today, in fact, by the time I saw the ad come out, if you know Julian Skeet any at all, if it's one area that I will definitely always make time for on my schedule, anytime, any day, all things youth and supporting the next generation and our future indeed here as a people in Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. Today there were particular standouts for me, and I just wanted to use the opportunity to quickly highlight, because I feel as if what we have seen here today, it is almost safe to say, could very well set the example for some of our very own parliamentarians in the region, from our young people setting that tone. There are a number that I have noticed, but I just wanted to single out three in particular. Councillor Baines, that was able to speak in his presentation to the importance of the fact that as a people, we are never going to get systems perfect, but we got to be willing to try something different in order to grow and to develop. I also wanted to highlight member for Bethel New Grange, Assemblyman Siana Rupchan. Excellent use of references in a society where sometimes we take the average word for facts, but being able to reference the facts and the statistics, an important facet for any society. And certainly, I must recognize member Leston, Assemblyman Leston Paul, member for Bonaccord, Crown Point, speaking to the importance of proposed structures, timelines, and process in the way that we approach the execution. And folks, there are a number of other highlights, but I want to stop there to simply speak to the fact that this initiative for me is a highly commendable one. And I say that to you from deep down, for the simple fact that I knew the journey when we got started here, as I mentioned before, as high school students in the legislature on a one-day occasion, working with then presiding officer Kelvin Charles to introduce what would have been our Assembly Day debates for the youths that take place in December, transitioning and having that exposure and building and working with Dr. Angus as presiding officer in terms of being able to execute and to continue to roll out initiatives like the study tour, and coming to a point today where we see those initiatives continuing under presiding officer Abby Taylor and building even further now to introduce the People's House and the primary schoolers. And again, I might throw a little jab to say, if only all elements of our governance could learn from the Assembly legislature, we can build on the good work of those that have gone before. And so I want to, in my final portion of these remarks, to really extend sincere congratulations to each and every one of you. And I want you to just show me by raise of hands. For how many of you is this the first time that you are in the house when you started participating in this initiative? Just show by raise of hands. And I might want to extend those hands to the public gallery for parents and friends. This is probably your first time in the house by simply participating in this initiative. And I want you to give these persons a round of applause. Because what this signals for us ultimately is another successful initiative led by the presiding officer and the Assembly Legislature Secretariat, ensuring that there is wider exposure to our governance systems here in Tobago. And in fact, this is the direction that we have to continue to go, using the various strategies. Rightfully so, I am certain this interest has been piqued, and we will be sure to see a number of our future leaders coming from this very same grouping right here. And I am certain, if I am to use the example of this morning, I could barely get my daughter to look at any elements, even when it's high school here in the house, and I have to say a few words. She will say, by the way, Daddy, I saw you, I think you were a judge. But this morning, I got her to sit down, and when she saw the ads telling me that her Signal Hill Primary School government student is the presiding officer, that I know her, Daddy. So therefore, it means the impact is not just simply for those who are sitting in the chamber, but this goes well beyond to our students at the various primary schools throughout Tobago. And so I wish to say, once again, my sincere congratulations, and I continue to feel extremely proud and to continue to embody youth excellence in everything that you do. Again, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Administrator Skeet, who is here today as a youth advocate and a former head judge in previous youth debates. We now invite to bring remarks the effervescent Assemblyman Zorisha Hackett, Secretary of Education, Research and Technology.
Allow me to stand on the already established protocol and wish each of you a hearty good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is with great pleasure I'm standing here addressing you as the member for Bethesda Leketo, leader of Assembly Business, and Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, especially in response to such a thoughtful and thought-provoking and, might I dare say, engaging debate on a motion that touches the very core of our educational system right here in Tobago and in Trinidad and Tobago by extension. Colleagues, members, fellow Tobagonians, we have been schooled. Both literally and figuratively, we have been schooled by these primary schoolers. My students, I feel like a proud mother right now. Your discussions today have highlighted not only your understanding of the current educational landscape, but has also demonstrated your commitment to shaping its future. I commend each of you for your contributions here, not only this morning, of course, but along the journey. The motion, as debated, brings forward critical points that deserve our collective attention and careful consideration as an island and as a nation. Firstly, let us touch on the secondary entrance examination and the national discussion surrounding its retention or abolition. It is undeniable that the SCA has been a focal point of education for many years. However, the points raised about the involvement of primary students who are directly impacted by these decisions is both valid and relevant. Your voices here today, my students, as primary stakeholders, are invaluable to this ongoing discourse. The experiences, challenges, and perspectives you have shared provide a unique and necessary insight into the effects of this exam on the physical and psychological well-being of you, our students. Therefore, in response to the resolution calling for the creation of a student-based team to examine the impacts of the SCA, as your Secretary of Education, I wholeheartedly support this initiative. Establishing a platform where students can express their views, share their experiences, and contribute to meaningful discourse about their education is imperative. This team will ensure that the voices of you, our students, are heard and considered in decision-making processes. I will therefore work closely with the Executive Council of the Tobago House of Assembly to establish this team, providing the resources and support needed to facilitate its important work. Secondly, my students, the proposal to to consider, incorporating the Montessori method into our educational system in Tobago is both innovative and forward-thinking. The Montessori method, known for its child-centered approach to education, emphasizes hands-on learning, self-directed activity, and collaborative play. This method could offer an alternative pathway for students, one that nurtures independence, creativity, and of course, lifelong love for learning. But it is not the only one that does the same. I believe that exploring diverse educational methodologies can only enrich our education landscape, and as such, I support the idea of conducting a thorough evaluation of various educational methodologies, as we are currently doing at DIRTEC, to therefore determine their strengths and the best practices invoked before considering their potential integration into our current system. This will, of course, involve pilot programs, consultations with educators, parents, with the nucleus being you, our students. This will also be accompanied with assessments of how these approaches can complement and enhance our existing curriculum as we aim to provide holistic education that caters to the diverse needs and potentials of all our students. Moreover, this debate and activities leading up to it underscore the importance of working assiduously on the Tobago-centric curriculum. Such a curriculum ensures that our education system reflects our unique cultural heritage, values, and societal needs. It empowers you, our students, with a strong sense of identity and pride in your Tobagonian roots, equipping you with the knowledge and skills to thrive in a global context. Your engagement in the debate highlights how vital it is to continue developing and refining a curriculum that is both locally relevant and globally competitive. I would now like Your vision and leadership has made this event possible, and I also want to congratulate your supporting staff because they have also been instrumental in bringing this vision to a reality. Let me now express gratitude to you teachers and parents, the unsung heroes of initiatives such as these. And I'm seeing you there in the background cheering your students on, but we understand the passion and dedication that goes into initiatives such as these. Your commitment to Tobago's future is truly commendable, and I salute you as well. And of course, to you, my students, so many of you, your faces I know, I've been visiting you in your schools, and of course, some of the faces I'm seeing here are faces I expected to see here. Your participation and thoughtful considerations and contributions have been both inspiring and invaluable. Stand, let all of Tobago see you now. We salute each and every one of you. And for those who are not seated around the horseshoe, we understand the commitment and the passion that also went into preparation for such an inaugural, inspiring, and a debate that is going to remain with us for the rest of our lives. You may be seated. Today's debate has certainly illuminated the importance of including student perspectives in educational reform. You as students have demonstrated maturity, insight, and a deep concern for the future of Tobago. As Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, I am committed to ensuring that your voices continue to be heard and that your ideas help shape the policies that will guide our educational future. It doesn't end today, of course. Thank you for your dedication and your passion. Together, we can build an educational environment that is inclusive, innovative, and responsive to the needs of all the students. May God continue to richly bless you, and let us continue to work together for the betterment of our education system as we continue on the quest to make Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. I thank you.
Heartfelt gratitude is extended to you, Madam Secretary, for your inspiring words. Permit me to share some breaking news. Heartfelt congratulations are extended to Nando George on placing second in this morning's storytelling competition. We now invite to the lectern a dignified gentleman who has the well-being of all of Tobagonians at heart, the Honorable Farley Augustine, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Thank you very much. Allow me to acknowledge members of Parliament, members of the Tobago House of Assembly, presiding officer, Madam Clerk of the House, other staffers here at the Assembly Legislature, parents, teachers, and of course, you, our star pupils for today. Let me join the others in expressing congratulations to you on your performance this morning. You know, this morning I forced protocol to push an engagement from 10 a.m. in Charlottesville to 9 a.m., trying to catch piece of this. And so on the way returning from Charlottesville, I'm listening to the debate. I listened to you, Mr. George, Master George, lead off, and listen to how all the other pupils, all the other representatives took their cue and appropriately represented your respective schools and communities and your families. And I must say you all did excellently throughout with your presentations. One of the speakers in making a reference to a Tobago adage said something I agree with. She said that, you know, it's usually thought that children should be seen and not heard. But in this context, was a boy? Thanks to the correction. That children should be seen, someone on this side, should be seen and not heard. Less done, Mr. Paul. Children, that is usually said that children should be seen and not heard. But in this context, that you were taking the opportunity to be heard. And I agree with you fully that we believe that young people should both be seen and should be heard, that you should be given a voice. And you're never too young to have a voice on issues that will impact your own lives. You're never too young to have an opinion. And I hope teachers and parents are prepared to deal with opinionated pupils, because that makes for scholarship and scholarly work. Throughout my time as a student, one of the things I got criticized for all the time, it was always in my report card from primary school all the way up, talks too much, exclamation mark, and sometimes a million exclamation mark after the much. And then I became a teacher long afterwards and realized how much a talkative student can be a pain to a teacher. But I want to encourage you teachers to encourage the talent in your classroom, and that a pupil that is articulate, a pupil that is able to share their opinions in a respectful manner are, in fact, pupils that you should encourage to continuously do so, even if their opinions may vary with yours. Because what we want to do is engender critical thinking among our pupils and teach them to question every single thing. That's a critical part of their education. And so I want to congratulate the parents and the teachers who got them prepared and ready. I want to congratulate the Assembly legislature on this very thoughtful initiative. I was blown away when I saw the bus, the plenary primary, as you call it, and the bus going around from school to school. And I saw pupils in the classroom having debates with each other from everything about the quality of school feeding and what should be in those grub boxes. And it tells me that you are very alert to what is required for your own upbringing and your own success. Finally, let me join the others in congratulating you, Mr. George, from one chief secretary to another. Congratulations on your stellar performance with the storytelling. And I was asked, it was whispered in my ears to ask of you from one chief to another, if you will so inclined to share your story with those who are here today. So I'm being obedient and sharing the request. And I see he's looking at Granny to see if Granny will give him the okay to share his story. So from one chief to another, thank you very much for sharing with the team. Again, congratulations on your performance. After listening to you today, I don't always get that sense when I'm in the big people house, but after listening to you today, I feel like I could hang up my jacket and resign and hand over to you guys to take charge of Tobago. Tobago is truly in very, very good hands with you. Our future looks absolutely bright. Thank you very much for sharing your talents with us today. No, let's go ahead. Let's get the story. Let's get the story.
According to Christina Rossetti, obedience is the fruit of faith. Good morning, respected judges. Good morning, respected listeners, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow colleagues. My name is Dr. George, and today I am being forced to with their mama and tea. Everybody in the village call them Dalby and Tina. You see Tanti Mercy, she always used to say Tina was as bright as a shining new penny. Every Friday evening, Dalby and Tina would collect eggs from the old chicken coop at the back of the yard, where mama and tea kept her laying hens. One Saturday morning, Mama Nettie lay in her bed, called her children and said, oh, me can't go to the market today. I asked my basket food. I don't want to go to the market with Tanti Mason today. Be careful with the eggs. Mama Nettie sat up in her bed. Daddy, come here. You know how stubborn you are. My mother's always been telling you, no cross that bridge. Mind me good, mind me no. Daddy and Tina went to the market. They found their usual place where they would sell the eggs. Daddy placed the basket of eggs in a big box. Daddy and Tina had sold all the eggs in a very short time. They packed up the stocks and placed the money that they collected in Mama Nettie's red handkerchief. He put it carefully in his pocket. While they finished packing up their stuff, Daddy called out to Tante Macy. Tante Macy, we're going home. Well, that was quick. When my sister would, I go straight to him. You know how curious is about that bridge. My mother's always been telling me, don't cross there now. That the auntie now found their way out of the market. While they were walking, Daddy stopped at the bridge. Daddy, Mama, let's go punish you, Tina said. Well, it's still early. And I know you want to go over there too. Daddy knew his sister very well. Without another word, he grabbed Tina by her hand and pulled her across the rickety old bridge. They went slow and they saw another boat. As soon as they walked on it, the trees in front of them had vanished. Wee, Papa! Look, Tina, look! This place is as beautiful as the pictures in Papa Ben's book! Tina was scared. Papa, Daddy, this is real! It comes out of nowhere! Look, you have power right now! Daddy was too excited. Where? Look at who's up the hill! Daddy rushed up. Tina had no other choice but to follow. It got later and they got hungry. But all the fruit trees had vanished. Then they saw a light like a ball of fire appear inside of the house. Daddy and Tina gasped as they saw the ball of fire spinning round and round. First by the window, then by the chair, then by the window again, and then the front door opened. A little old lady called out to them. Come in, children. You look hungry. Mama's gonna give you food. Daddy and Tina was so hungry that they went inside. Mama gave them soup. Sweet potato and corn. As soon as they finished eating, Mama said, "Children, it's dark outside. You're tired. You go sleep in a nice soft bed. They're going to take you home early in the morning." Daddy and Tina wanted to go home right there, right now, but it was so Mama Z had cast a spell on them, and they did exactly what she said. Morning time came, and Mama Z was nowhere to be seen. They grabbed their baskets and they rushed towards the door. They tried opening it, but all the doors and windows were shut. All that. Papa Ben always used to say Kokoyas only used to come out at night time. His sunlight fell on them, they would show up and flew away. He also said that Kokoyas would do anything a little girl wants. Aye, you silly one, that's not real. But Daddy was afraid. Darkness fell again, and the ball of fire was back. It spun wrong and wrong in the room, telling the kitchen. And they thought I was listening. Wall of fire! Spin it up! I am a Kokoya! Put me up! Mama Z, his name. My cousin Sukunya has no fear. Little boys, they taste so nice. Boiling up with sugar and spice. The ball of fire disappeared. See? I tell you, she's a Kokoya! Come on behind! But there was nowhere to hide. Amazin came out of the kitchen. She stared at Stanley and Tina. She frightened her shirt. Even though she was afraid, Tina ran up to Mama Z, pulled her by her skirt and said, Mama Z, I told me Mommy always rub me with sweet oil before I go to bed. Mama Z was annoyed. She marched up towards the cupboard, grabbed the olive oil, and began to rub Tina. While Mama Z was rubbing Tina, Tina sang in her sweetest voice. Mama Z, rub me slow. Mama Z, make the skin glow. Mama Z, rub me so. Mama Z, make the skin glow. Tina's voice had loved Mama Z so much that she did not see the room beginning to brighten. Mama Z hissed and stamped her feet so hard that the whole house shook. She went into her bedroom and she slammed the door shut. Darwin and Tina for the whole lip prayed that maternity will come and save them. Tina thought about another trick. Darkness fell again, and the ball of fire spun low by the stand. They heard the voice again. Ball of fire, spin me round. Higher Makuya, push me down. Mama Z is my name. So has no fear. Little boys, the tea is so nice. Wild enough with sugar and spice. The ball of fire disappeared. Mama Z stood there. She grabbed on her shirt. Daddy and Tina held on to each other and cried so loudly. Tina screamed at the top of her voice. Mama Z walked towards Tina. She grabbed her and shook her till her teeth rattled. Listen, child, no more crying. I tell you I'll take you home soon. Mama Z turned around. She grabbed her leg. Tina jumped in the back. Mama Z, I told me Mommy always. What is it, child? Tina could hardly talk. Mama Z, I told me Mommy always. Bathe the river water before I go to bed. Mama Z was angry. She marched up towards the cupboard, grabbed the basket, and ran down to the river. The more she did, the more it leaked. She dipped and dipped and dipped. Oh, this basket and hold water, right? Mama Z was so angry that she didn't see the sun beginning to rise. Meanwhile, back at the house, there was a huge commotion. Well, there was a huge bacchanal. Mama Letty, Papa Ben, Tanti Macy, and the whole village was there. The door broke down. It's morning! It's morning! The sun is rising! Tina said while running to Mama Letty. Just then, they heard a terrible scream coming from up by the river. The sun was hot! The sun was hot! The sun tripled Mama Z. From that day, no one ever saw Mama Z again. And no one was afraid to cross that bridge, even though it was still first year now. So, Tina, and especially David, always listen when Mama Letty said, "Man, be good."
Thank you, Honorable Chief Secretary Senior, for your riveting remarks, and Chief Secretary Junior for your stellar performance. Let us invite to address the House a sophisticated lady who demonstrates sheer willpower and goes above and beyond as she continues on her bid to empower the residents of Tobago. She is none other than Miss Abby Taylor, the presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Permit me to stand on the already established protocols of this house. To my students, congratulations. Job well done. You know, I sat there and I was writing what to say to students that I have formed a relationship with. And I looked to the walls and I saw our foundation, I saw our heritage, I saw a house that was already built. But then I looked to you all and I saw our future and our legacy. And I must say, Tobago is in good hands. I want to caution you all though, all the adults, they are listening. In order for them to come in here and to do this so well, it shows that they are listening. They are looking on, and we have a duty to act accordingly. Our future depends on it. So I'm not going to stay long because I know time is spent and we probably just want to get on with the activities of the day. So I want to say thank you to the teachers especially to buying into this vision that we had here at the Assembly Legislature. Thank you to Madam Clerk. Thank you to the staff. Thank you so much for picking up when I couldn't, for rallying when I couldn't, for going out and teaching what true democracy is. To one particular person who gave so much of his time, who is not a member of staff, Mr. Allen, thank you so much. To all our facilitators, I know Ms. Rivers, she was a member of Parliament, but she also does some work with the Tobago Hospitality School. She wanted so much to be here. I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you did for our students. And to Delia O'Neill, who did so much, she said, you know, we needed more time. And yesterday and day before, she corralled everybody and she said, we have to get this done. Thank you so much for your knowledge and for your information. And just want to say thank you. Thank you for buying into this vision. I had a dream that this could happen, and it took students, 44 students, to make this possible. So again, thank you very much and congratulations. And we look forward to great things from each and every one of you. Thank you.
Sincerest thanks, Madam Presiding Officer, for your eloquent remarks. It is my indeed honor to say thank you. Heartfelt gratitude is extended to our young, profound and witty debaters who have demonstrated that the future of Tobago is in capable and diligent hands. You have indeed demonstrated your prowess in debating the motion on the secondary entrance examination, the amendments made to it, the national conversation to remove it. I believe your arguments for and against will start a fervent discussion across Tobago. To all members of our audience, our dignitaries, all who have joined us, whether in person or virtual, I offer sincere thanks for spending the time with us. I must laud the astounding efforts of Ms. Abby Taylor, Madam Presiding Officer, and her team for the conceptualization, organization, and execution of this event, which is the first of its kind in our nation. What a great feat. Please, my great debaters, let us join in thumping the desk to say thank you. Let me extend deepest appreciation to you, Madam Presiding Officer, and your staff as you continue to not only raise the bar, but shatter the glass ceiling for Tobagonians to advance as a people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before we move on to the official photo shoot, allow me to share with you the words from brightchamps.com. Children possess an incredible capacity to absorb knowledge and develop their personalities. Providing them with inspiration and motivation at an early age can shape their character and set them on a path to success. Let us, as parents, guardians, teachers, and officials, empower and inspire our children to be the best version of themselves in every positive area of their lives. Again, I am Salisha Small Moses, and it was indeed my pleasure to host today's maiden primary plenary debate closing ceremony. I trust that we all will continue to have a beautiful and blessed day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I thank you. So we're asking all our debaters, dignitaries to come in for our official photo shoot, please. We're going to smile at those people on the campus.